The next step is to completely fill the hair, and I'm doing that on a new layer. I've done this already. So you can do that either by colouring it manually with the felt pen or the ink pen. If you colour with the ink pen, turn this smoothing and taper off so you can just get a completely normal solid stroke like that. Fill it with black. You want it as dark as possible. Or use the fill tool. Yeah, use the fill tool. If you use the fill tool, make sure you don't have gaps because it will just flood out through those. ArtRage 5 actually has an option to ignore gaps like this so it won't flood out. But this is not ArtRage 5, so you can't use that. Even though I keep automatically trying to do things like that. So instead you just want to fill in, turn spread off. Spread is what's one of my problems here. And current layer only, yeah, so double check all your settings before you do stuff. And you can block gaps off on the layer you're filling in so you don't have to mess with your line art. I'm not doing a very good job, am I? There we go. So yeah, you can do that. Fill in all the hair with black until you get this, or something like that. Let's see. Yes. And what I do then is I hide everything except this layer. I then export this entire layer image as a new stencil. So it's just a black and white image. You can keep the lines if you like. I did actually for my other one. And then what you do now is you hide this because you don't need it. You go to Stencils and you import that image. So there's the hair stencil I just made. Then I go to Transform and I line it up over my canvas. This is why it helps to export the entire image just as it is, because now you can line up each side. If you're using ArtRage 5, you can convert a layer into a temporary stencil, so you don't have to do the whole export-import thing. But this works fine. You just want to get that exactly right. You can also use keyboard shortcuts, so if you press Control, not while the transform is going, but so if you press Control, you can zoom in and out, and Alt, you can do this, and yeah, let's put that back. So now, everything except my hair is completely masked. So what I can do now is I can just colour it. So now I have a solid base colour for my hair. If I want to colour everything around that, I can now invert the stencil and colour inside and outside. I also did the same thing with the skin. It helps if you do the hair first and then the skin, because you've got something blocking the outside of the skin, and it makes it much easier to colour it in like that. So that was the practice, yeah. So if I go back here, that's the skin one I made. Again, I need to fit it over the entire canvas. I will just use Control to tidy it up the last bit of the way. You right click to move them. Now with this giant stencil over everything, it's quite difficult to use my keyboard shortcuts and right clicking to move around, so this is actually a bit more helpful. Suddenly you move right in, you can see if it's lined up or not. Okay, there we go, we have two stencils now. You can see all the active stencils here, and you can hide them as you work, and you can invert them. You can even flip them, though that doesn't help much. It does help when you're inking though. So if I just hide everything, if you're having trouble drawing lines, you can just flip the whole canvas or rotate it. So if you transform and just flip, sometimes it's easier to see what you're doing, and you can flip it back later when you've finished. So now I have blocked in this canvas layer. As you can see here, I messed up that bit when I was colouring and I didn't notice. So this is actually why it helps to have multiple stencils. You can see there that the hair is, that section of hair is masked by the skin stencil. So instead, I can layer those stencils and use them to make sure I cover every single bit of the canvas that I need to.